Thanks everybody for coming. I figured I'd deep dive. I found an old presentation recently that had a lot of early development documentation about the time of those early days of Armada, maybe even pre some of the names we know and some of the things. So I'm going to point those things out to kind of put you in that mindset of late 2000, all through 2001, through the summer of 2001 when we were making all these decisions, and kind of see how we developed the line organically. The top picture there is, that's Takara, the office I actually worked in. This is the team that made Armada. That's Kobayashi-san, Yuki-san, Yoke-san, Hira-san, and Kobayashi-san, Ite-san. And that was during the development of Armada. I looked a lot younger and hot. It was hot in the summer in Tokyo. The early Armada sell-in, we knew we wanted to do these collectible figures, kind of a secondary kind of way to collect. They became mini-cons, but in the...
Do you want to address the Pokemon influence?
Well, Pokemon was catch 'em all, collect 'em all, that kind of thing. The collector thing was really starting to come into its own in Hasbro. Hasbro had Pokemon. So it was kind of a, like, let's get some of that fast action. The term that we used back then was called popcorn purchases, like just easy to grab, really fun. And that's what the Minicons concept was originally about. Like, how can we just have, 100 of these things, and, some of that came through, some of it altered, But these early images, these were done by Ken Lashley, this top one here, who did all that Transtech work that some of you might have seen along the way. So he was still involved, and we positioned it like, what if Optimus and Megatron were fighting, and they were hitting each other, and like a boxer, the sweat that comes off, what if those were little vehicles? And that's kind of how that started. And so this image here is really the first real sell-in of what the idea of Armada could be as a visceral thing. Hey, we could take these little vehicles and do different weapons and shields and different play patterns. This is early stuff like where were all the activation points we'd play with. This character became Hotshot here. But this was all early, just throwing up stuff against the wall and see what could happen. Here's a document, Host Symbiote. We didn't even have them called Minicons yet. They were just this idea of, we knew these little things would attach. You come up with the legal names later. It was just a toy idea. And these are very broad strokes of how you create a line. Drive collectability throughout the line. Increase play value at price points. Very basic stuff, but you do lay it out as a toy designer so everybody knows what's happening. What the entry-level price points, maybe they're 2 or 3 or 4 packs. At this point, we didn't even know what the Minicon packs would be.
And basing it off of what was done with Transformers before with MicroMasters, where there was 4 packs.
Yeah.
So,
programming constantly renews the symbiote themes. Mid-price point, we started talking about let's get electronics, and you see all that stuff in the actual products. And then the leaders of the Transformers at the bottom, high-level price points. Key characters, a lot of features, kind of a home base for these little things that would become Minicons. These were the early things we showed management. These are the goals we're trying to achieve as we develop this product line and program. The programming objectives, these are broad things early in a process that are like the ideal list. Things will drop off and onto this, but this was our first concept of what became Armada could be. 2D animation, hopefully the Japan and American market or global market is the same target. We're not talking to adults in one market, kids in another. Toys and show will match. There's kids in the show. It takes place on Earth. Very, they seem like straightforward things. Like, of course they're going to have heroes versus villains. But if you don't lay it out, it may not get understood early enough with the writers. And, So you lay all these very odd things. Here's one. The Minicons had individual personalities. That dropped off because we really didn't you couldn't fill the scripts up with a lot of mini characters talking, and then you exponentially increase the voice talent when you do that. So that became the reason that the mini-cons didn't talk. You know, at the initial onset, they were going to be fully talking characters.
And in a lot of ways, it was then used, at least for the comics with Dreamwave,
Yeah.
where voice acting isn't an issue.
They may have been given these same, you know, documents.
Yeah.
So this whole presentation I'm showing you is a collection of documents that I had put together back in, I don't even know, 2004, when a new president came into the company to explain how Transformers operates within the company versus the Star Wars team, versus the Tonka team, you know, where we have to do critical planning for the franchise, not just here's a picture of Darth Maul, go make an 8-inch toy, go make a 12-inch toy. It's a different process, and that means the management within Hasbro have different times that you need their input, and there's times where once we've passed, their input really can't be addressed unless it's a crisis of some sort. So they had this new president coming in. We needed to educate him on these processes. So that's where this initial collection of docs came.